In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. All the organs we are having are important. Some of the organs are even more important. One organ, which is called the brain, is extremely important, essential. Brain have a hardware and a software. The software of the brain is called mind. So now all what we are doing, all what we are doing, and all what we will do, it has a lot to do with our mind. It has a lot to do with our mind. How we think, what we think, what we think. It is really, really, really important. And what we believe in. As far our mind is concerned, as for the, it is one thing which we all need to do know. All of us, each one of us, even if somebody cannot speak, even if somebody cannot listen, even if somebody can't even see, deprived of all three senses, even if somebody can't smell, all each and every one of us is found giving instructions to our mind, knowingly or unknowingly. Overwhelming majority of the people will say, we don't give any instructions to our mind. As a matter of fact, nobody on earth is without that. Nobody who is alive is without that. Every time, every waking moment, our mind keep working. Even it works when once we are asleep. But during the waking hours, we are found issuing instructions to our mind. Even those who deny it. Everybody says that I can do that or I cannot do that. Making judgment about our own performance in the near or distant future. We are also found making comments about what happened to us in our previous life. As a matter of fact, all of these, all of these, all of these are important because it is relating to the most important thing, which is called mind. Since it is related to the most important, extremely important thing, that is why it is important, it is extremely important. Not only this thing, rather, since our mind keeps working, even when we are sitting idle and doing nothing, even when we are sitting and doing nothing, still our mind keeps working. And during this work of the mind, we keep interfering in its work, either positively or negatively. Many of the time, we are found saying that I cannot do that, I cannot do that, I cannot do that. Believe me or not, any positive and constructive thing, if at all we say that I cannot do this, actually we are doing something greatly wrong. We should never ever say this thing because there are things we have to do to protect ourselves from any sort of loss and trouble. And there are certain other things which we have to do to gain certain benefit, to gain certain advantages in the life. So we do have to do the both of these things. For most of the people, protecting whatever we already have is more important than gaining the new thing. But let me tell you that it's whatever it is, if it is important, important is what sort of actually instructions we are giving to our mind. Many of the people in many of the situations are found saying that I cannot do that, this is beyond my power, this is beyond my access, this is not feasible for me. And I think so that this instruction is really very bad to us, and we are actually convincing ourselves that I have to get defeated, that I don't have to do it because doing it is beyond my reach. So either I don't have to make any attempt at all, or I shall make certain attempts, but that too a half-heartedly, in a half-hearted manner, and obviously not in a wholehearted manner. And then let me ask you a question, that if at all we don't try many of the things with the fear of failure, because we have been instructing ourselves that I cannot do that, and since we have been instructing ourselves I cannot do that, for that reason we fail to do this, we don't even attempt, and once we don't attempt the failure is 100%. And now if at all we do make an attempt, but that is half-hearted one, then how much are the chances of success? Almost negligible. So this is why I think that it is very important, and very important indeed, that we need to learn how to manage our mind and how to control our mind. I think so that to be able to control our mind, we should never ever say that I cannot do that, because this is not anyway lesser than a poison. And I remember that long ago I used to convince myself that this is not difficult, this is not a problem, this is not a problem. People in the UAE, I have found that they people are found saying quite often, this is not difficult, this is not difficult, this is not difficult, and they are telling it to themselves as well as they are telling it to the other people. So I think whatever is good, whatever is constructive, whatever I have used to, whatever I do have to do to protect myself from any sort of trouble and loss, I think it is doable, and it is quite doable, and I can do that. I can do that because I don't do have to do it with an idea, with the power of an idea, and the idea will be gifted to me, granted to me, once my mind, and once my subconscious mind, and once my mind gets convinced that yes, I think so that we need to convince ourselves. It is by far the most important convincing ever, the most important convincing effort ever. We need to keep convincing ourselves by repeatedly saying this thing, I can do that, I can do that, every time something which we have to do comes to our mind, every time which we have to do comes to our mind, we need to say, I can do that. Whether it is to protect ourselves from any sort of loss, or it is to gain any sort of advantage or benefit, in both of the cases, we need to say, I can do that. We do have to tell it to ourselves and no one else. Telling it to other people is not necessary at all, but telling it to we ourselves, it is necessary, it is rather extremely necessary, and we need to tell this thing to our mind repeatedly. We need to tell this thing to our mind again and again, so that it does succeed in entering our subconscious mind. And once it does succeed in entering our subconscious mind, this actually mean that we have convinced ourselves, and anybody and everybody who have succeeded in convincing oneself, let me tell you with enough amount of confidence that they succeed in doing that, because they are really great, because they can really do that. It is as simple as this one, no complication. Although it is the mind science is considered, some of the people call it a complicated one. It is not actually, but once we do understand it, it becomes really simple. Thank you.